She reached for Jesus, trembling and afraid of what he might say. But instead of rebuke, she heard words of peace. This is what happens when fear meets faith. I'm Pastor Jason Barnett, and this is the Dirt Pastorman Podcast.
That's not what happens. You step out of the boat, and that's when it gets rowdy. It gets rowdy because why? The enemy knows we're under attack. We're being invaded. This Christian has stepped out of the safety net and is invading our domain. Child fit in this box. The problem is they don't fit the box. And so we keep trying to stuff them in the box. And if we keep pushing hard enough, at some point they say, you know what? Maybe I am supposed to be in this box. They sit down in it, but the box looks like it's about to explode because they're not supposed to be in that box. The fear that you're feeling, the guilt that you're feeling, that's the conviction from being in this presence. That's your sin. That's my sin doing that. But God's not here to condemn you. He's not here to say, I'm here to send you. No, God is here to say, I love you, and your sins are forgiven.
Welcome back to the Dirt Pastorman Podcast. I'm Pastor Jason Barnett, a.k.a. the Dirt Path Pastor. I am so glad you're listening today. Today's message comes from a powerful story in the Gospel of Mark. It's a story about fear, faith, and what happens when we finally bring our hidden wounds to Jesus. If you've ever wondered how he would respond to you, this is a message you don't want to miss.
I have your Bible turn with me to the Gospel of Mark. I know those of you that have come in Bible study, we're back in Mark again. Oh boy. We're in Mark chapter 5. And as you turn there, I'm going to tell a story about when I was in 5th grade and I did something bad. When I say it was bad, it was really bad. And I did a lot of bad things in my life, but this is probably the one I got in the most trouble for. So my teacher, she told us to write a short story. She said it could be about anything fun the short story can be about. She really put no parameters on it. I'm a 5th grade boy. I was a wild imagination. Okay, my mind can go to a lot of places. And so for the story, I wrote the story. It included everything you would expect from a 5th grade boy. It had all kinds of blood, guts, guns, bombs, obnoxious sayings in there. It was a masterpiece. And so I turned it into a teacher, and well, let's just say that next day when she read, I didn't get recess that day, and I earned myself a trip to the teacher's desk. And when I'm at the desk, the teacher, she takes my recess away, and then she also hands me a note that I'm supposed to take back to my mom and dad that says I'm in trouble for writing the story. Quit the story staple to it. Now, I've told you before, one of my hobbies has always been writing. I've been writing short stories since I first learned how to write. And so you can imagine, maybe I did write this one for a grading assignment, but I wrote some short stories from time to time that might get me in trouble with mom and dad. And so here I am, I'm in trouble with school for the very thing that they told me not to do. So you can imagine I was scared. What are they going to say when they get this note saying, and read your stories under me? What will they say? Now, if you're honest, I probably would have only been in a little bit of trouble, if I had just taken the note home and let mom and dad read it and sign. That's not what I did. Because I was scared, man. I'm like, I am not taking this note home. I'm not letting them read it. When I'm afraid what they're going to say. So what I did, I'm like, I'm going to sign it over and bring it back in. But see, now I knew my finishing skills were not quality enough to copy my mom's signature. It was too fancy, it's too pretty. But my dad, I'm like, I'm not going to pull this one off. Long story short, I did not. I did not pull it off. My fourth grade failed, and the result, I got a blistered knee on, no recess for a week, and it wasn't grounded from anything fun, all because I was afraid of the question, afraid of what will my parents say. I took a bad situation and made it a whole lot worse. But and so we all know that tension, right? I mean, I don't make myself a bad story of myself, but we all know that tension though. Okay, when so-and-so finds this out, when I tell them what happened, what are they going to say to me? How are they going to respond? We live in that fear. It could be because of addiction. It could be because of shame. It could be because of room for hiding. But so often that fear of what will they say keeps us from reaching out. It keeps us from asking for help, but even from approaching Jesus, because deep down we wonder, what will Jesus say? So our passage today introduces us to a woman carrying that same fear. But when she finally reaches for Jesus, we're gonna discover how Jesus hates her. So it's the Mark chapter 5, and I'm going to be reading verses 25 through 34. It says, the woman was there who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a lot under the care of many doctors, and had spent everything she had without getting any better. Because she had heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd, and he touched his clothes. She is thinking, if I can just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. Her bleeding stopped immediately, and she sensed in her body that her illness had been healed. At that very moment, Jesus recognized that power had gone out from him. He turned to the crowd and said, who touched my clothes? His disciples said to him, don't you see the crowd pressing against you? Yet you ask, who touched me? But Jesus looked around carefully to see who had done. The woman, full of fear and trembling, came forward. Knowing what had happened to her, she fell down in front of Jesus and told him the whole truth. He responded, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace, healed in your disease. Just learn about the people now. All right, so let's kind of dig into this a little bit here. So this woman, she had been bleeding for 12 years. That's a long time. And we're not, the text doesn't really tell us what she was suffering from, what her condition was, but we know it was chronic bleeding. It could have been a hemorrhage of some type. It could have been a hemorrhage due to complications from even a miscarriage or something like that. We don't know. So she's been bleeding for 12 years. So she's been suffering for a long time. But it wasn't just about the physical condition of her suffering here. You see, according to the Levitical law, because she was bleeding, the Levitical law describes it as she was considered a person unclean. Anything she touched was considered unclean. So this woman was not allowed to touch him. She wasn't allowed into the temple to worship. She was completely cut off and ostracized. And the thing about verse 26 tells us she had suffered under the care of many doctors. When you read this account, Luke's a little bit different. But keep in mind, Luke's a doctor, so he has the praise, but that's because the illness is untreatable. But Mark's not trying at all. He's like, Jesus accepted a bunch from these doctors. They take all of her money, they get her everything, and they did not help her one bit. They will make it worse. And some of the things even that she would have had to throughout life, the medicines we have today, right? They were they were bad. I know one of the Jewish communities that was considered for people of her condition was they would take a piece of barley from a donkey, a white female donkey, they would force the person to feed it, but that didn't clean it, give it a tunnel. If she had gone from a Jewish doctor, she had gone to a Roman, but she may have, because she says she's been to as many doctors that she can't try to figure this out. The Romans practice what's called bloodletting, right? Where they just try and drain the blood out, thinking that helps you out. It doesn't. When he says she suffered some treatments that were harsh and humiliating. And not only that's just like everything she had only to go worse. At this point in time, this woman was completely out of options. She had tried it. She is desperate. Verse 27 tells us she comes up behind Jesus in the crowd. And she's not coming behind, she's scared. She's desperate to be healed. She hears Jesus there and she believes he might be able to help her. She's scared. Because she's unclean. She's afraid, what will he say? But she's desperate. And she believes Jesus can help her. She comes up behind him, trying to sneak into the picture. She knows this might be her only chance. Well, later is that word that it says she touched his clothes. That word touch, it isn't like a gentle like brushing against. It isn't like an accidental touch. No, this word implies she grabbed a hold. In a way, it's like she's into her help. She grabbed onto the clothes, and it's another passage. And some of you may remember she grabbed him by the hem of his garment. Right, you heard that before? There's some significance in it. Because if Jesus was wearing a traditional robe, the male robes had this tassel that was attached to it. It was blue. And that tassel, if you read about the book of Numbers, that tassel was symbolic. And it was reminding the men of God's law and God's presence. Essentially God's promises. So Jesus had that on his robe. That woman reached it out and she grabs a hold of it. It's like she sees God's promises and she's grabbing a hold of it, knowing that God is her only hope. She was not just grabbing fabric. She was reaching for God's mercy. So this woman sneaks up behind Jesus and reaches out and grabs to the hem of his garment, desperate for healing. And immediately, no hesitation, immediately she sensed in her body that she was being wrong. She sensed that she was healed. So because she snuck up and did the secret, like she tries to slip away just as quietly. She tries to sneak out of there. So there's a problem. Jesus stopped. Jesus stopped. You see, when she grabbed the thing of his garment, it was not Jesus' garment. It wasn't that tassel. Those things were not those some type of magical ability. It wasn't the clothes. When this woman touched Jesus' garments, Jesus was the source of the power. The power in Jesus' clothes, it left Jesus. Now, when I say it says he felt, it's not like, if you remember playing video games where you're able to use a character that has magical abilities, right? You're used to the magical abilities, but the more you use the magical abilities, the more depleted it becomes, then you can't do the magical ability anymore. And then you usually end up dying halfway through the level because you use all your abilities. No, you're being spicy. But that's not what's happening to you. Jesus' power isn't somehow depleted. Jesus doesn't notice because it's somehow less powerful than he was before the woman touched it. No, Jesus noticed it because when that woman was healed, it wasn't just an accidental thing. It was a very personal and intimate act. Jesus didn't notice it wasn't the power so much that Jesus noticed, the point is that Jesus noticed her. And then going to get this comical exchange between Jesus and the disciples. To me, this is one of the funnest passages of Scripture. But here Jesus is walking through this crowd. Let's say it's a crowd. It's like you're at Walmart on Black Friday. Don't ever do that. I don't know why people do that. If you're one of those people that do that, I pray for you. God would be screen. But imagine you're at a place like that, and this is a crowd that is so numerous that they are pushing in against Jesus, right? They are bumping into. That's how they're packed in there like sardines. Just you think of the cows up there, you get that piece of train. They were just crammed in there with all our junk. But somehow, in the midst of all that, Jesus is able to tell the difference between the people that are just there because they're curious, trying to get a look at it, and the husband from this woman who was actually seeking his help. Jesus knows the difference between the people that are just there out of curiosity and the people that are different than they want. And the people that Jesus, the change them. So Jesus says, who touched me? And the disciples like, what do you mean? He said, I see all these people here. I was supposed to figure that out. Like, I don't think I'm doing the sarcasm justice, in my opinion. I mean, I think maybe Jay is doing a bit of sarcasm in the attitude, right? So Jesus is insistent. He doesn't argue with the disciples. He doesn't argue. And he just keeps putting them in. And remember, this is the worst nightmare for the woman, right? She's trying to, she got her healing, now she did a sneaky way, and she's trying to sneak out there, not get caught. But Jesus stopped, and she sees he's looking around. I don't know if the text doesn't, he's looking right at her or what, but she knows Jesus is looking for her. She hears him ask, who touched you? The verse 33, the first verse, the encounter. She comes to Jesus. And it says, verse 33, she's full of fear and trembling. She's shaking, she's scared because Jesus calls her out, and she steps forward and comes to Jesus' feet. She is fully expecting him to rebuke her. She's expecting to be rebuked because she did a sneaky thing, right? She snuck up, grabbed him of his garment and snuck off. She expected to be rebuked because she was unclean and now she was just like Jesus, which would make Jesus unclean. Now it's Jesus could have said less about that to her. Now that's something that doesn't also inform. It's also because she's a woman and she just boldly to die in public. There's all kinds of this woman. She's fearful. She's full of fear and trembling as she comes forward. And as she comes in, she falls at Jesus' feet. Like you can almost feel the sense of her wrestling with the question of what's he going to say to me? What will he say? But she's doesn't forgive her, does it? He doesn't forgive this woman. Instead of rebuking her, he said he calls her daughter. This woman for 12 years has been ostracized, separated from the community because of her condition, because she was unclean. Jesus looks at her and says, daughter. You know, this is the only time in the gospel Jesus ever called anybody by that title. It's the only place where Jesus says that. Jesus looks at this woman who's been on the outside looking and just suffering from 12 years. Jesus looks at her and says, daughter. He lets her know that she belongs in him. Then he goes on and he says, go in peace and be healed. Now that word healed is interesting. It's kind of a deep word. But it's a word that in other places in the New Testament is regularly translated as saved. So it's almost like you say, go in peace and be saved. Because you see, this woman came to Jesus desperate for this physical healing, right? When she touches Jesus, this interaction with him, that's not just what she receives. Yes, she receives the physical healing, but the healing goes beyond that. Jesus not only heals her physical need, he heals her emotional wounds and scars. Jesus doesn't just heal her physical needs, but he doesn't just heal her emotional needs, he heals her place in the community. He restores me. The woman is saved. She's healed in a way that's complete. She's restored with full life. All right, so what does this details? See, the woman, she had no strength, right? She's been suffering for 12 years. She's exhausted. She doesn't have anybody. The doctors took you all. And still didn't help her. She didn't have any social standing. She wasn't a burst of influence. She was born. You know what the woman didn't have? She had faith. When I say she had faith, though, it's not, this woman, she did not have a bold faith. It was a faith that was full of shame. She knew she was unclean. She knows she shouldn't be touching Jesus. She knows she shouldn't even be approaching him. She knows she shouldn't be in that crowd, but she pushes through the crowd anyway. She has a hesitant faith. She has a faith that's full of fear and trembling. She has the kind of faith that barely risks to believe I can just reach out. I can just reach out. And that's the point. That's the point of this story. That's the lesson for us in this. That is faith expressed. Even trembling, hesitant, shame-filled faith is enough to connect us to the healing power of Jesus. Jesus isn't looking for polished faith. He's not looking for perfect faith. He's not looking for somebody that knows all the semi-point answers. He's not looking for somebody that can quote the genealogy of Matthew in 30 seconds. Only Bible person knows that. Jesus isn't looking for impressive faith. What Jesus is looking from us is faith that is real. Faith that despite all the fear and trembling, the faith that despite all the shame, the faith despite all the hesitation is still enough. Let's say, I just reach out. If I can just get closer to him. If I can just get close to him, and maybe I can get close enough and then be healed and then sneak away. Jesus is just in that. You see, the gospel is not prove yourself worthy, prove you. The gospel is trust me enough to reach out. Maybe you came in today like the woman in our story, dealing with something. I don't know if you know this, but between 2018 and 2022, so that's time frame. That's what I take these statistics. If you go look at the records for Esco County, 1,300 people were treated for some type of substance abuse problem. 1,300. That's a lot. Why am I pointing this out? Because we have families here, as people here, we have experienced that. We have experienced the hurt associated with that. We have experienced the shame associated with it. It may not have been us, it may have been somebody we love in our family. But we know the shame of trying to answer those questions of why are they doing that? Why are they like that? Why is their name in the paper again? It hurts. And when we encounter those situations and those moments, we're asking ourselves, what will they say? How will they react? Maybe it's not addiction. But according to a 2023 report, in Kentucky, 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men have experienced domestic violence. See, to the world, they may look like a happy couple on the outside, right? They may have the perfect Instagram and Facebook profiles, but all of us look at it and think, oh, I want our family to be like that. But on the inside, there's this shame of knowing what's really going on. There's this brokenness of this. I thought this person loved me, but now they're treating me this way. There's a hidden shame there. And maybe they want to get out, but what will they say if I do that? Those cats mean there are hearts in this room carrying wounds nobody else can see. It'll be flexible. There's a miracle. There's a miracle that has taken place this morning. The miracle is that despite us carrying those type of wounds, us carrying those hidden secrets, those of us carrying that emotional damage. Those wrestling with that question of what they will say, despite that fear, here you see. You intentionally came to church on a Sunday morning knowing that what will the church asking yourself, what will they say being the church? But at the same time asking, if I can just speak to Jesus, I can just reach out. You feel with the kind of faith that the woman had today. Maybe I can just stay close enough to Jesus. Maybe. See, your story may have you asking, what will the church say? When we read the story about this woman, it puts the question. It's not about what the church will say. It's not about what the crowd will say. The real question is, what will Jesus say? What will he say? That was the question the woman was asking as she thought Jesus was here and she like, what will he say to me? She was expecting rebuke. She was expecting rejection. But what does Jesus say to her? He looks at her and says, daughter, go in peace and be healed. I'm very excited this morning. That's exactly what Jesus wants to say to you. That fear, that guilt, that shame that you're carrying. You're here because you think, maybe if I just get close enough to Jesus. But you're asking what will I say? I'm here to tell you, Jesus is saying, daughter, son, go in peace and be healed. You don't have to carry this. You don't have to be broken this way. I can help you. Here's the answer. Jesus is who he says he is. Jesus tells us he is the Savior. That's who he is. He died on the cross and saved us to prove it. He's the restorer. He restores the swing from her place from the outside back to the inside. We see just that over and over again. That's the heart of the gospel. Of the prodigal coming home. See, Jesus would be called on and sit on reviews, and he's waiting to say the same thing to you. I'll just read the picture. Picture this woman, like she's in this crowd, and she's trembling. She is shaking from fear. Rest with that question of what will it say. while she's trembling and she's scared, so she has that one hand and she's reaching out and hoping, if I can just touch it, maybe that's enough. If you're preaching right now, much sure you just start to realize if you're carrying those deep movements like that, once you realize that's who you are today. That picture that woman, that's a picture of you. Don't let fear keep you from faith, because when you reach for Jesus, the word to you is always facing him. Always facing him. When you reach out. See, this is your moment. This woman, here she is, she's surrounded by this crowd, right? She sees Jesus right there. She may not get another She may not get another opportunity to experience this. She knows, I've been suffering for 12 years. Yes, I'm unclean. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. But there she is. She begins to make her way through that crowd. This is the moment I have. This is the opportunity. And I'm going to reach out to him. The question is for you. You're in that moment. Right now. Jesus is here saying, I am willing. He's here to say to you, I go in peace and be healed. So don't you reach out. I'm going to invite David and Ella to come up and you can sing along in your life, or you can sit and listen. As we're singing, the altars are open. Right? These altars are not a place of shame, not a place of us just watching and patting ourselves on the back. These altars are a place of healing. They represent the foot of Jesus. And these altars are staying as the tears of the saints sung before us. They're a testimony to what God did in your life. And some of you that share these altars are a testimony to what God has done in your life. It's a reminder that Jesus is the one who heals. That he wants to say to you, son, daughter, go in peace. So as we sing this, come forward. If you're not comfortable coming close line, you can do it where you're at. Don't pray by yourself. Let somebody know. Let somebody pray with you. Let's stand and sing this together.
As you've listened today, maybe you felt a little like the woman in the story, trembling, unsure of what Jesus might say if you reached out. Let me challenge you. Don't let fear hold you back. Take that step of faith, even if it feels small, and trust that his word to you will always be peace and healing. If this message has encouraged you, share it with someone who needs hope today. And let's keep walking this journey of faith together. Until next time, grace and peace to you in the name of Jesus. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Dirt Pastor Man Podcast. It was recorded live at the Ravenna Church in Nazarene, located at 530 Main Street in Ravenna, Kentucky. You can learn more about the Ravenna Church in Nazarene by visiting ravnaz.com. And if you'd like to send me a message, just simply use the link in the show notes. why should you consider visiting Ravenna Church of the Nazarene?
All right, what's your name?
Lincoln.
How old are you, Lincoln?
I'm 8 going to 9.
And then how long have you been coming to our church?
About 2 years now.
About 2 years? What got you started coming here?
Well, I came for VBS one day and they asked me to go and start coming. I was like, so what?
What is your favorite thing about our church?
I'd say, I'd be honest, children's church.
Children's church? What is it about children's church that you like?
How dollar churches.
Yeah. Lincoln, if you could tell anybody out there why they should come to our church, what would you tell them?
I tell them because a lot of people are friendly.
A lot of people are friendly. Yeah.
I think that'd be the best option because a lot of people are not friendly, and I think if more people would come, they'd think that we'd be a nice church and they'd start coming more.
Yeah. That's cool. A lot of churches, Lincoln, say they're friendly, but what makes our church different?
Well, we joke about everything. I like how you preach. I like how Nicole preaches and everything. I honestly think that it'd be good for everybody to come together, be more friendly, but that's just not how to work.